My impotence became her excuse when I caught her with another man. That night, her betrayal sparked something dark within me. This was just the beginning of my revenge. Be me, 29 years old guy named Michael, living in San Francisco, have everything most people dream of. Great job as financial advisor, making $120K a year. Beautiful wife Catherine, Kate. Together for 6 years. Married for 4? Life seems perfect from the outside, but something feels off lately. Sitting at the kitchen table one evening, pretending to read emails. Kate stands in the doorway, putting on her red high heels. Something about her expression seems different, like she's already made up her mind about something. She hasn't looked at me once. Not a single glance. Where are you going? I ask. Try to keep my voice casual, still staring at my laptop. Don't want to seem too interested, but something feels wrong. Out, she says. The word hits like a brick. She adjusts her purse strap. Doesn't bother giving me more details. Out where? Her eyes finally meet mine, just for a second, sharp and dismissive. Just a party, Michael. She hadn't mentioned any party before. Clearly wasn't invited. Whatever. Tell myself I didn't want to go out anyway. Not gonna make it a big deal. Should have though. Don't wait up, she adds. Walks out without looking back. Should have said something, but just sat there. She didn't even tell me whose party. No details. Nothing. Door clicks shut. That's when it hits me. Room suddenly feels colder. Like something has been taken from me without permission. Get up from the table. Walk to the refrigerator. Grab a Corona. Try to shake off this feeling. But thoughts keep coming, uninvited and vicious. Kate's been distant lately. Way too distant. Take a long sip. Try to drown out these thoughts. Maybe she's just stressed. Work has been heavy for both of us. Intimacy hasn't been great either. Last few times we tried to get close, something was off with me. Like my body refused to cooperate. It's embarrassing as hell. No, it bothers her. Even though she never says it. Bothers me more than I can admit. Still, this isn't about that, is it? About an hour passes. Can't focus on anything. That itch in my mind keeps growing louder. Grab my phone, start scrolling through social media, looking for any clue about where she is or what she's doing. Her Instagram story is quiet. No posts. No pictures with friends. Usually by now she would have posted something, even just a drink photo. That's when I notice it. Kate left her location on our shared Google account. A mistake she doesn't usually make. Shouldn't check. But I do anyway. She's not at any party. She's at some place I've never heard of. In a part of Oakland I know she doesn't go to. Something about it feels shady. Heart starts pounding. Stare at the map. Mind racing. Who is she with? What the hell is she doing in some random apartment complex? Shove my phone in my pocket. Grab my keys. Get in the car. Not thinking anymore. Not even angry yet. Just numb. Need to see for myself. The drive is tense. The kind of tension that makes the world feel smaller. Everything around me fades away. Streetlights, cars, buildings. None of it exists. Just me and the route on my phone. Leading me to her, fingers clenched on the steering wheel. Getting tighter with every block. When I arrive, place looks like any other rundown apartment building. Nothing special. Nothing that screams party. No loud music. No lights. No cars packed into the lot. Just an ordinary place. Eerily quiet. Park at the far end of the lot. Try not to be obvious. Not even sure why. Feel like I'm walking into something. Something I'm not ready for. Something that will change everything. But can't stop myself. Start walking towards the building. Each step heavier than the last. Get close enough to see the entrance clearly. That's when I see her. Kate walking out with some guy. Not just any guy. Recognize him immediately. His name is James. Met him once or twice. At some corporate event years ago. Wasn't even a friend. Just some guy in the background of her life. Someone I never paid attention to. Now here he is. His hand on the small of her back. Leading her out the door. Like it's the most normal thing in the world. Like they've done this before. They're laughing. She looks more alive than she has in months. My stomach twists. Fists clench automatically. Want to run up to them, but my feet are stuck to the ground. Just watch. Mind on fire. Every possible explanation flashing through my head, but the truth is right there. Clear as day. This isn't a party. It's something else. I've been ignoring the signs. For far too long. That night, Kate didn't just walk out on me. She walked out of whatever we still had left. The cracks that had been forming between us for months. They weren't cracks anymore. They were wide open doors to something I wasn't ready to face, but had no choice. Stand there frozen, watching as James's hands slip lower on her back. She doesn't push him away, doesn't even hesitate. Her laugh, her body language, the way she leans into him, all of it screams familiarity, intimacy. Not the kind you share with someone you've just met at a party. Feel like someone punched me in the chest, but the pain hasn't hit yet. It's that split second before everything falls apart. When your brain is still catching up to what your eyes are showing you, what I see feels like a betrayal. Can't even put it into words? Kate doesn't see me. They turn the corner, heading toward his car, still oblivious to the fact that I'm standing there, a few feet away, trying to hold myself together. Feel sick, like my insides are turning to stone. No, I have to do something. Say something, but my body refuses to move. Paralyzed between two instincts, one that wants to explode, demand answers. Rip him off her, and the other, the sickening desire to just walk away, disappear. Pretend I never saw it. Something inside me snaps, blood boils over. Start moving toward them. Footsteps picking up pace, faster and faster. Catherine, I call out. Voice sharper than intended. She whips around. The moment her eyes land on me, her entire face drops. That smug, carefree expression from seconds ago completely vanishes. She doesn't say anything, doesn't even try to hide it, just stares at me, like a deer caught in headlights, trying to figure out how much I've seen, how much I know. James is slower to react, still standing there, half smile lingering on his face. Clueless bastard doesn't even recognize me at first. What the Can't even finish the sentence. Words lost somewhere between fury and disbelief. My hands are shaking. My whole body is shaking. What are you doing here, Michael? She asks. Her voice a mix of panic and annoyance, like I'm the one out of place, not her. What am I doing here? I spit back. What the hell are you doing here, Kate? With him? She blinks, her expression twisting into something. Can't even recognize anymore? Cold, almost dismissive. It's not what you think. The audacity. That's when I realize she's not even going to bother denying it. There's no surprise in her voice. No shock that I caught her. Just a flat, pathetic excuse. That insults my intelligence. Not what I think, I echo. Words barely leaving my throat. I saw you two. I'm not fucking blind, Kate. Don't insult me. James finally speaks up, steps forward. Hands raised like he's trying to calm things down. Hey man, this isn't... Shut up! I snap. Cut him off before he can finish. Not interested in whatever bullshit excuse he's about to throw at me. Want the truth. Want it from her? Kate, I growl. Taking a step closer. How long? She doesn't answer right away. Her eyes flick toward James, like she's weighing how much to say. That's enough to make my blood boil even hotter. How long? I repeat. Louder this time. A few months, she finally mutters. Barely above a whisper. A few months? My mind reels. This isn't just some stupid fling. This is a full-on affair, carried out behind my back, while I was sitting at home, believing she was out with friends, working late, or whatever other excuses she'd thrown at me. Feel a lump in my throat, mixture of rage and something else. Don't want to acknowledge. Months, I echo. Voice cracking slightly. Hope she doesn't hear it. And you didn't think to tell me? To end this? She sighs, like she's tired of the conversation, as if I'm the one dragging it out. It's not that simple, Michael. Not that simple? I echo. You're screwing him, Kate. What part of this is complicated? She doesn't even flinch at the accusation. Instead, folds her arms across her chest. Shoots me a look that makes me feel smaller than ever. Maybe if you weren't so checked out all the time, I wouldn't have had to... The words hit me like a slap in the face. Blink several times. Struggling to process what she's saying, she's blaming me. Me. As if this whole thing is somehow my fault. As if my issues were the reason she went behind my back. Checked out? I repeat. Voice shaking now. You mean because of my impotence? Never said it out loud before. The shame that comes with it is unbearable. But now here it is, hanging between us like a dirty secret. Exposed in the worst possible way? The way she looks at me. That look of pity mixed with disgust. She doesn't even deny it. You don't get it, Michael, she says. Her voice cold. You haven't touched me in months. What was I supposed to do? Just wait around for you to figure yourself out? Can hardly believe what I'm hearing. Feels like the floor dropped out from under me, free falling into a pit of nothingness. What? You're tired of me not being able to... What? So you run off to him? Gesture at James, who has taken a step back, wisely staying out of the line of fire. She doesn't answer. Doesn't have to. The truth is written all over her face. That was it? There was no saving this. No conversation that would fix what had just been shattered. Yet I stand there, unable to move, unable to process. The fact that the person I'd built my life with had turned into someone I didn't even recognize. I'm done, Kate, I say. Voice quiet but firm. We're done. And just like that, turn and walk away, leaving her standing there with him. Don't care anymore. She can have him. What I didn't know then was that walking away wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. Drive home in a daze. Hands gripping the steering wheel so hard, think my knuckles might break. Road blurs in front of me. Headlights streaking past like ghostly trails. Mind racing, looping through the same vicious thoughts. Over and over again, every time I try to calm down. That image of Kate leaning into James flashes in my head. Like a sick movie on repeat. The rage inside me twists tighter. But underneath it, something worse. A hollow ache, an emptiness I can't shake. When I get home, the house feels like a stranger's place. Familiar walls, the furniture, everything suddenly feels foreign. Like I don't belong here anymore. Slam the front door harder than I mean to. Stand there for a second, listening to the echo ripple through the silence. For a moment I want to tear everything apart. Break the dishes, rip the pictures off the walls, anything to match the destruction I feel inside. But I don't. Can't. Instead, just stand there, in the middle of the living room, staring at the photos on the mantle. There's one from our wedding day, us laughing like idiots, wrapped up in a moment. That feels so far away now. Could have been a dream. Pick up the frame, stare at it for a long time, fingers gripping the frame tight. How did it come to this? Toss the frame onto the couch. Can't bear to look at it anymore. There's no clarity, no answers, just this heavy, suffocating fog of betrayal. Part of me still can't believe it. Had known something was off for a while, but never imagined it would lead to this. The hours pass slowly, like time itself is mocking me. Sit in the dark, staring blankly at the wall, mind replaying everything. From the moment she walked out earlier, reach for my phone out of habit. Thumb hovers over her contact. Instincts telling me to text her, to demand more answers, to scream at her through the phone. But what's the point? What could she possibly say? That would make this better? Nothing. There's nothing left to say. Put the phone down, but then it buzzes. It's a text from her. We need to talk. Don't make any rash decisions. Rash decisions. Is she serious? After everything she's done. I'm the one being irrational? Can feel the heat rising in my chest, like she doesn't even get it. Or worse, she doesn't care. Don't reply. Don't even want to. Toss the phone aside, her message burning a hole in my brain. She wants to talk? Talk about what? She had months to talk. Months to come clean. To be honest, but no. She chose to lie, to sneak around, to betray me in the worst possible way. And now suddenly she wants to fix things. With words, pace the living room, every step bringing new waves of anger. House is too quiet, too damn quiet. My own thoughts are too loud. Need something to block it all out. Grab my keys again, walk back out to the car. No plan. No idea where I'm going. Just need to get away. To clear my head, to put some distance between me and this disaster. End up driving to the one place that might offer some kind of escape. My friend Nathan's place? Nathan's known Kate for years too. While I don't want to air out all my dirty laundry yet, can't handle being alone in that house any longer. Need someone to tell me I'm not crazy, to see that this isn't all my fault. When I knock on his door, he opens it with a look of surprise. It's late. No, I probably look like I've been through hell, but he doesn't ask questions, just waves me in with a concerned nod. We sit down in his living room. For a while, we don't even talk. He hands me a Heineken. We sit in silence. TV playing some random late-night show. In the background, eventually break the silence. Tell him everything. How she'd left for a party, how I found her with James, the months of lies, and finally, tell him about the text. Man, Nathan mutters, rubbing the back of his neck. That's rough. I don't even know what to say. I'm not looking for advice, I say. My voice hollow. I don't know. I needed to tell someone. Did she try to explain anything? I mean, besides that garbage about you being checked out? He asks, shaking his head. That's such a load of crap. None of this is on you. I don't know. She said it wasn't simple, I reply. Mind flashing back to the confrontation. Like there's some hidden complexity to screwing around behind my back. Nathan takes a long swig of his drink. Dude, she's trying to manipulate the situation. You know that, right? Make it sound like you're partly to blame, so she doesn't have to carry the full weight of it. I nod. But part of me still feels like maybe I had let things get too bad, too distant. Maybe I had been checked out. Maybe... No. Can't let her twist this. Whatever had gone wrong in our relationship, this was on her. She made the choice, not me. So what now? Nathan asks. After a long pause, I have no idea, I admit. I told her it was over, but I don't know if I meant it. Do you want it to be over? Stare down at my hands, feeling the weight of that question. Did I? Part of me can't imagine walking away from 6 years just like that. But the other part, the part that keeps replaying, the image of her with James, Doesn't know how I could ever look at her the same way again. I don't know, I say finally. Voice barely above a whisper. I don't know what the hell I want. Nathan nods, understanding in his eyes. Take your time, man. Just don't let her guilt trip you into staying. If you know it's not right, stay at his place for another hour. But my mind is elsewhere, like I'm standing on the edge of a cliff, teetering between letting go and holding on for dear life. Every option feels impossible. Every decision too heavy to make. By the time I get back to the house, it's almost dawn. Stand at the front door for a moment, hand resting on the doorknob, feeling the weight of what waits for me inside. Sun creeping up, casting a pale light over the neighborhood. But all I feel is darkness. Know what Kate will want. She'll want to talk, to explain, to justify. But what is there to say? Not sure there's anything left. That could save us? Open the door and step inside. House greets me with that same cold silence. No sign of her yet. But something tells me the real battle hasn't even started. House is quiet. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that makes your skin crawl, like the walls are holding their breath, waiting for something to break. Stand in the hallway, feeling the weight of the air pressing down, heart pounding in my chest. Not sure if it's from anger, fear, or both. No, Kate will be back soon. She wouldn't leave things hanging like this. Not after that text. She's probably thinking up some twisted excuse. Something to manipulate me into feeling guilty. Not going to fall for it. Sit down at the kitchen table. The same table where we used to eat breakfast together. Laugh. Talk about our day. Feels like a different lifetime now. Stare at the grain of the wood. Tracing the lines with my finger. Mind spinning. What am I supposed to say? When she walks through that door, how do you even start a conversation like that? Not even sure I want to talk anymore. Part of me just wants to pack a bag. Walk out. Never look back. But the other part, the stupid part, still wants answers. Why him? Why not tell me? Was I really that blind? Hear the sound of her car pulling up outside. Body tenses immediately, like a coiled spring ready to snap. Don't move though. Stay in the chair. Hands clenched into fists on the table. Staring straight ahead, door opens, and there she is. Kate doesn't say anything at first, just stands in the doorway, holding her keys, looking at me like I'm some kind of stranger. Her face is blank, guarded, like she's already decided how this conversation is going to go. Hate that look. The look that says she's already 2 steps ahead, already planning her next move. Michael, she says, her voice low. Careful? We need to talk. Don't respond right away. Let the silence hang in the air, waiting for her to feel the weight of it. But she doesn't seem to care. Just walks over to the kitchen island, tosses her keys down with a sigh. What do you want to talk about, Kate? I ask finally. Breaking the silence, my voice flat. What's left to say? She looks at me, her eyes narrowing slightly, like she's trying to gauge how much damage control she needs to do. I know you're upset, but this isn't something we can just leave hanging. We need to talk about what happened. I laugh, but it comes out harsh, bitter. What happened? You mean you sneaking around with some guy for months? Is that what we need to talk about? She sighs again, like she's the one who has to deal with something exhausting. It's not that simple, Michael. I told you. Things have been off between us for a while. Off? I repeat, my voice rising. That's your excuse? Things were off. So you decided to cheat? She doesn't flinch. I didn't decide to cheat. It just happened. You've been distant. You know that. You barely even talk to me anymore. Let alone anything else. I didn't know what else to do. There it is again. Her trying to shift the blame. Make this about me. Clench my jaw. Trying to keep my temper in check. So because I've had some issues, because I've been stressed out, and dealing with my own stuff, you figured the best solution was to go screw around with someone else? That's your logic? She crosses her arms, her face hardening. You weren't exactly giving me any other options, Michael. I'm not going to sit around and wait for you to decide. You're ready to fix things. My blood boils. Fix things? You could have talked to me, Kate. You could have told me you were feeling neglected, that things were bad, but instead you lied. Over and over? For months. Her face tightens, lips pressed into a thin line. I didn't want to hurt you. Slam my fist down on the table. Sound echoes through the kitchen. Too late! You didn't want to hurt me? Do you have any idea what you've done? Do you think I can just ignore what I saw tonight? What you've been doing with him? She looks away, staring at the floor. For the first time, she seems a little shaken, like maybe she hadn't expected me to be this angry, but she recovers quickly. I didn't plan for it to happen. James was just there. He understood me in ways you didn't. nearly choke on my own disbelief. He understood you? What the hell does that even mean, Kate? You're telling me you screwed around with him because he was a good listener? Her eyes shoot back up to mine, angry now. It wasn't just about that. It was about feeling something again. You shut me out, Michael. You weren't there anymore. You haven't been there for a long time. And I was tired of waiting. Tired of waiting? I echo, voice barely more than a growl. So instead of fixing things, you just decided to throw it all away. Great solution. I didn't throw anything away, she snaps. You did. You gave up on us long before I did. That was it. Couldn't take it anymore. She wasn't going to admit anything. She wasn't going to own up to what she did. It was all going to be twisted around, spun into a story where I was the one to blame. I didn't give up, Kate. I was still here. Still trying to figure things out. I didn't run off and cheat. The second things got hard. She opens her mouth to say something. But don't let her. You made your choice, I say. My voice cold. You chose him. And now you have to live with that. For the first time, see something crack in her expression. A flicker of doubt. Or maybe fear. She's not as in control of this conversation as she thought she was. Michael, No, cut her off. I'm done. You want to know what happens next? Here's what happens. I'm leaving. You can stay here, with your excuses, with whatever you've built up in your head, to justify this. But I'm out. Leaving, she repeats. Like she hadn't expected it to go this way. Where are you going? I don't know yet, I say. Voice sharp. But it sure as hell won't be here. Not with you. She takes a step forward, her face softening, her tone shifting to something almost pleading. Michael, don't do this. We can still fix this. We can talk. We can work through it. Shake my head. Barely able to look at her. No, Kate. You can't undo what you've done. You can't erase the lies, the sneaking around. You made your bed. Now you can lie in it. The air between us feels thick, heavy. Like we're both standing on the edge of a cliff. One wrong move away from tumbling over. For a second, think she might break down? Apologize. But she doesn't. Instead, she just stands there, staring at me, her lips pressed together, that cold look creeping back into her eyes. She doesn't care. Not really. Grab my jacket, head for the door. Not looking back. Can feel her eyes on me. Feel the weight of the moment, pressing down on my shoulders. But don't stop. Can't. Open the door and step outside. Cool night air hits me. For a second, feel like I can breathe again. But as I walk to my car, a new thought hits me. A realization I can't shake. This isn't over. Not by a long shot. Sound of the front door slamming behind me. Echoes in the night. But the finality I'd hoped for doesn't come. Instead, as I stand by my car, breath puffing out in angry clouds, realization hits me like a punch to the gut. This isn't over. Not even close. Walking out was just the beginning. No, Kate isn't the kind of person to let things end without a fight. Open the car door. Slide into the driver's seat. Just sit there, gripping the steering wheel. Heart still racing. Adrenaline coursing through my veins. But beneath the anger, something worse. Something darker. Doubt. Am I really ready to walk away? Am I ready to torch everything we built together? My mind keeps flashing back to the conversation inside, her voice calm at first, then desperate, spinning her betrayal into something rational, as if she had no other choice. We can still fix this. We can talk. We can work through it. Work through it. Think bitterly. How do you work through months of lies? How do you work through the image of your wife with another man burned into your brain? You don't. You can't. Still. That little seed of doubt refuses to die. What if she was right? What if this was my fault? Had I been distant? I'd been so consumed with work, stress, and my own issues. Maybe I had pushed her away, without even realizing it. No. Shake the thought off. This isn't on you. You don't betray someone you love, because things get hard. She had choices. She chose him. But then another thought creeps in, uninvited and cold. What if I can't fix myself? What if this happens again? With someone else? That's the part that terrifies me the most. The part I don't want to face. Maybe Kate was right about one thing. Things between us had been broken for a long time. But instead of fixing it, she decided to set it on fire. Turn the key in the ignition. Engine roaring to life. Have to go somewhere? Anywhere. Just can't sit there anymore. In front of the house we once called home. As I pull out of the driveway, catch a glimpse of the front window. The light is still on. She's still in there, probably pacing the floor, already plotting her next move. Kate doesn't give up easily. No, she isn't going to just let me walk away without trying to drag me back in. Drive aimlessly for a while. Streets empty and quiet. World feeling distant. My phone buzzes in the cup holder. No, without looking who it is. Kate. Don't even want to read her message. But curiosity gets the better of me. Pick up the phone, glancing down at the screen. We need to finish this. Come back. We can talk. Don't do something you'll regret. Laugh out loud. Sound harsh in the silence of the car. Don't do something you'll regret. She really has no idea, does she? The regret isn't mine to carry. It's hers. But don't text back. Not ready to play her game just yet? Need time to think, to breathe, to figure out my next move without her pulling the strings? Because that's what it feels like. Like she's trying to control the narrative, trying to steer this disaster in a direction that suits her. And I'm not going to let her keep driving until find myself parked in front of Nathan's place again. It's the only place that feels safe right now. The only person I can talk to who won't give me some excuse or tell me to work it out. Need someone to be on my side to remind me that I'm not crazy for feeling like my entire life has just been torn apart. Nathan answers the door, his face a mix of surprise and concern. You're back, he says. Stepping aside to let me in? What happened? Walk past him, drop onto his couch without a word. Exhaustion hits me all at once, like my body is finally catching up to the emotional wreckage of the night. I told her it's over, I say. My voice flat. I walked out. Nathan nods slowly, sitting down across from me. Good. You need to be away from her. At least for now. You need space to figure this out. Stare at the floor, my hands still shaking. She's not going to let it go, man. She's already texting me, trying to get me to come back and talk. Like talking's going to fix any of this. Nathan snorts. Talking? What's there to talk about? She cheated. She lied. You don't owe her anything. I know, I mutter, running a hand through my hair. But she's good at this. She knows how to twist things. Make me feel like I'm the one who messed up. She keeps saying I pushed her away, that she didn't have a choice. Nathan leans forward, his expression serious. Michael, listen to me. That's bullshit. You didn't make her cheat. You didn't put her in James's bed. She made those decisions. She had a choice. And she chose to betray you. Don't let her make you feel guilty for something you didn't do. Want to believe him? I do. But Kate's words keep looping in my head. The way she looked at me, like she was disappointed, like I was the one who had failed her. It's hard to shake, even after everything. There's still a part of me that wants to fix things, to go back to how things were before. But how do you go back to that? How do you unsee the truth? Pull out my phone again. Reading Kate's text for the 100th time. My thumb hovers over the screen. The urge to respond gnawing at me. Don't even know what I want to say. Maybe want to hear her beg for forgiveness. Maybe want her to admit it was all her fault. Or maybe I just want her to hurt, as much as I do. I'm thinking about going back, I say quietly. More to myself than to Nathan. What? Nathan shoots me a sharp look. You can't be serious, Michael. Don't do that. Don't go back there. I'm not saying I'm going to stay, I say quickly. Though even I'm not convinced, I need closure. I need to hear her say it. I need to know if she actually feels any remorse, or if this is just her way of controlling me. Nathan shakes his head, exasperated. Man, she doesn't care. She only cares about saving face. She'll say whatever she has to say to keep you hooked. You know that, right? I nod. But the doubt is still there, lurking beneath the surface. I don't know, man. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Nathan sighs, leaning back in his chair. Look, I get it. I know you need to figure this out. In your own way. But just promise me one thing. Don't let her mess with your head. You've already seen who she really is. Don't let her rewrite the story. Stay at Nathan's for another hour, debating with myself, torn between the urge to confront her one last time and the desire to just walk away for good. By the time I leave, sun is creeping up over the horizon, casting the streets in a pale, cold light. As I drive back, my mind keeps cycling through every possibility, every conversation I imagine having with her. No, deep down, nothing she says will make this better. But there's still that sick, twisted part of me that needs to hear it. When I finally pull into the driveway, the house looks the same as ever. Peaceful. Deceptive. But inside, I know it's a war zone. Step out of the car, walk to the front door and hesitate. Hand on the knob. Take a deep breath, bracing myself for whatever comes next. This isn't over. Not yet. Stand at the front door, hand gripping the knob so tight it hurts. every instinct screaming at me to turn around, get back in the car, drive away, but I can't. Something deep inside won't let me. There's unfinished business here. Something pulling me back into this disaster, like I can't let it go until I get the answers I'm looking for. Even if they destroy me, with a final breath, push the door open, step inside. Kate is sitting at the kitchen table, her back to me, like she's been waiting for hours. She hasn't changed out of the black dress, the one that now feels like a symbol of everything broken between us. Her phone is on the table in front of her, but she's not looking at it. She doesn't even turn around when I come in. It just sits there, staring at the table, her posture stiff, like she's bracing for a fight. Shut the door behind me, the sound snapping her out of her stillness. She slowly turns her head, her eyes meeting mine. There's no trace of the coldness I'd seen earlier. Instead, she looks tired, defeated almost, but I'm not about to let that fool me. I've seen that face before. It's the face of someone who knows how to twist a situation, how to manipulate emotions. Michael, she says quietly, her voice thick with something. That sounds like regret. You came back? Don't respond right away. Walk further into the room. Every step feels heavy, like the weight of everything unsaid is pressing down on me. Stand across from her, leaning against the kitchen counter, arms crossed. Not going to sit, not going to make this comfortable. I didn't come back for you, I say, my voice flat. I came back because I need answers. She nods slowly, her eyes still locked on mine, but she doesn't speak. Can see her thinking, calculating, probably trying to figure out what angle to take. She knows I'm not going to fall for any easy explanations, so she's treading carefully. Why? I ask, cutting through the silence. Why him, Kate? Why not tell me what was going on? Before it got this far? Why let it turn into this? She blinks. For a second, I see her mask slip. Something raw flashes in her eyes, but she quickly buries it. It wasn't supposed to happen, Michael. It wasn't like I went looking for it. Things just spiraled. That's not an answer, I shoot back, voice sharp. I'm not asking for excuses. I'm asking why you made the choice. To betray me instead of talking to me. Why him out of all people? She lets out a slow breath, her fingers tracing the edge of her phone. On the table, it wasn't about him. It was never about James specifically. He was just there, available. I don't know how else to explain it. That's bullshit and you know it, I snap, feeling the anger flare up again. You don't just fall into bed with someone because they're available. There's more to it than that. You chose him over me, over us. She looks away, face tightening with frustration. I didn't choose him, Michael. It wasn't like I wanted this to happen. Things between us were falling apart, and I didn't know how to fix it. You weren't there anymore? There it is again. That same excuse. The same attempt to turn this around. Make it seem like I was the one who forced her hand. Stop blaming me, I say, voice low but dangerous. Stop pretending like this was out of your control. You had a choice, Kate. You could have talked to me, told me how you were feeling, but instead you lied. For months. She looks back at me, her eyes narrowing, her frustration boiling over. Do you think I wanted it to be like this? Do you think I wanted to sneak around? I tried, Michael. I tried to talk to you. But every time I did, you shut down. You buried yourself in work, in your own issues, and left me here feeling like I didn't exist. Shut down, I echo. Voice rising. You mean because I couldn't be intimate with you? Because I was dealing with my own crap? You decided to go and get that from someone else? She flinches at the mention of it. For a moment, I see a flicker of guilt cross her face, but then it hardens again. It wasn't just about that. It was about you giving up on us. I wasn't just going to sit around, waiting for you to figure out your problems. I needed something. I needed to feel alive again. Alive? I spit the word out like poison. So screwing James made you feel alive? Is that what you needed to fix things? It wasn't about him, she snaps. Voice shaking now, tension rising between us like a wave. It was about feeling like I mattered to someone, like I wasn't invisible. Her words hit me like a punch, but not sure if it's because they hurt or because they're just so absurd. Stare at her, struggling to wrap my head around it. You felt invisible? And that's my fault? I didn't say it was all your fault, she says quickly, voice softening, like she's trying to reel me back in. I needed something. You weren't giving me... And instead of trying to fix that, you took the easy way out, I say. Tone hard. You went behind my back, lied to my face, and now you're standing here, acting like you had no other option. She drops her head into her hands, rubbing her temples, like she's exhausted by the conversation. I didn't know how to stop it, Michael. Once it started, it felt like there was no way out. There was, I shoot back. You could have ended it. You could have chosen to fight for this. But you didn't. You threw us away for him. Silence falls between us, heavy and suffocating. She doesn't respond this time, just sits there, staring at the table, her face pale, her hands trembling slightly. For a moment. Think maybe I've finally broken through to her. Maybe, just maybe, she's starting to realize the gravity of what she's done. But then she looks up, and what I see in her eyes isn't guilt. It isn't remorse. It's resentment. You act like you're the only one hurting here, she says. Voice low but venomous. Like I haven't been suffering too? I didn't want this, Michael. I didn't want any of it. But you didn't give me a choice. You've been so wrapped up in your own issues, your own failures, that you never saw how much I was drowning. I reached out to you so many times. But you weren't there. Stare at her. My chest tightening with anger, with disbelief. I wasn't there? I wasn't there? Do you even hear yourself right now? I've been dealing with my own demons, yes. But I was still here. I was still trying to make this work. You're the one who checked out. You're the one who betrayed me. She stands up suddenly, her chair scraping against the floor, face flushed with frustration. You're right, Michael. I betrayed you. But don't act like you were some perfect husband. Who didn't play a part in all this? You pushed me away. You made me feel like I didn't matter. And now you're angry? Because I found someone who made me feel like I was worth something. Her words hang in the air, heavy and toxic. Feel the last piece of my resolve snap. There it is. The real Kate. The one who isn't going to admit she was wrong. The one who's going to twist the knife in my back and act like I was the one who handed it to her. Shake my head, disgusted. You really believe that, don't you? That I'm the reason you cheated? That I'm the reason we fell apart? She doesn't respond. Just stands there, arms crossed, her eyes filled with a strange mix of anger and defiance. She's not going to apologize. She's not going to take responsibility. Not fully. Not in the way I need her to. I'm done, Kate, I say. Voice hollow, exhausted. I came back here for closure. But there's nothing left to say. She doesn't move, doesn't try to stop me, just stands there, staring at me with that same bitter expression, without another word. Turn and walk out the door, the cold night air hitting me like a slap. This time when the door slams shut behind me, it feels final. There's no going back, no more conversations, no more trying to understand. It's over. But as I get into my car and drive away, a new feeling settles over me. Something I hadn't expected. Relief. Street lights flicker past in a blur. But for the first time, in what feels like forever, my mind isn't racing. It's calm, empty almost. Kate's words are still bouncing around, somewhere in the back of my head, but they don't have the same power over me anymore. The moment I walked out that door, something shifted. It wasn't just anger or pain anymore. It was relief. I said it was over, and for the first time, I meant it. There was no more fighting, no more trying to understand. What couldn't be understood? Kate and I had crossed a line that neither of us could walk back from, but even with that newfound clarity, can't shake this gnawing emptiness in my gut, because deep down I know something had been broken long before tonight. Kate didn't just wake up one day and decide to betray me. Maybe she was selfish. Maybe she didn't care enough to fix things. But this mess hadn't come out of nowhere. We were both at fault. But that didn't mean I had to carry the blame for what she had done. Night air slips through the crack in my window, cold against my skin, but it helps. It grounds me. Keep driving. No destination in mind. Just the feeling of the road under my tires. The world outside silent and still. My mind flashes back to our wedding day again. To the way we had smiled at each other. Like nothing could ever go wrong. What a joke that seems now. People always say marriages are hard, that they take work, but no one prepares you for the way it can unravel. The way small cracks can spread until you don't even recognize the person standing across from you. Don't want to think about it anymore. Don't want to relive every conversation, every silent night, every moment I could have done something differently. Because honestly, what would that change now? My phone buzzes again, lighting up on the passenger seat. Glance at it, knowing before I even look who it is. Kate again. We should talk tomorrow. I know you're hurt, but this isn't how it has to end. Almost laugh. How else was it supposed to end? With forgiveness? With me pretending this could ever be fixed? toss the phone back down without replying. There's nothing left to say? Not anymore. But even as I try to shut her out, a small part of me wonders, could we have fixed it? If I had seen the signs earlier? If I hadn't been so wrapped up in my own issues? Would things have gone differently? Would she have chosen me instead of James? Shake my head, trying to drive those thoughts out. It's a pointless spiral. A black hole of regret. And second guessing. The truth is, I'll never know, and I have to live with that. Drive past the city limits, heading out toward the quiet back roads. Realize I have nowhere to go. Nathan had already given me more of his time than I could have asked for. Not about to show up at his place again, wrecked and confused all over. Need space. Need to be alone. There's a small motel I've passed a few times. The kind of place you never notice until you're desperate for somewhere to disappear. Pull into the lot. Neon sign flickering. Half the letters burned out. Looks as worn and tired as I feel. Perfect. Park the car. Grab my overnight bag, one I'd thrown together, out of instinct before I left the house. Walk inside. The clerk barely looks up. As I hand over my credit card, slides me a key. With the kind of bored efficiency that only comes from working a job too long. Don't care. Just want a room, a door to shut behind me, and a few hours of sleep, where I don't have to think. The room is as expected. Dingy. With faded floral wallpaper, and a bed that creaks when I sit down. Don't even bother turning on the TV. Toss my bag on the floor. Kick off my shoes. Lay back on the bed, staring at the ceiling. The silence presses down on me, thick and suffocating. For a moment, wish I'd stayed at Nathan's. At least there the silence would have been filled with his voice. With someone telling me I wasn't crazy, that I was doing the right thing. But I needed this. Needed to sit in the aftermath of what had just happened. To feel the weight of it settle in. To accept it. Kate wasn't coming back to me, and I wasn't going back to her. Close my eyes, let out a long breath. Bed creaks beneath me as I shift, but the noise barely registers. My mind is elsewhere, drifting through the memories of our last few years together, the good ones and the bad. There were more bad ones than I wanted to admit. Fights about nothing, cold silence that stretched on for days. That feeling of distance that I never knew how to close. And then her words come back to me. You weren't there anymore. Hate that those words stick with me. Hate that part of me knows. There was truth to them. I had checked out, hadn't I? It was hard to accept, but couldn't deny it. There were so many times when I let my own insecurities, my own failures, keep me from reaching out to her. I could have fought harder for us, but I didn't, and she took the easy way out. Instead of confronting me, instead of trying to make me see what I was missing, that's what burns the most. Not just the betrayal, but the fact that she hadn't even tried to fix it. Sit up, staring at the faded, cracked wallpaper. And for the first time that night, let the weight of it all sink in. I wasn't going back to her. This wasn't just a fight we'd get past. This was it. I had walked out, and I was going to stay out. But where did that leave me? Alone in a cheap motel, wondering how the hell my life had spiraled this far out of control. Get up, pacing the room, trying to shake off the feeling of being trapped. It's suffocating. Thinking about everything that was gone, everything that was broken. My marriage, my trust, my sense of who I even was anymore. That's when I realized something. Kate wasn't just the one who betrayed me. I had betrayed myself by letting this go on as long as it did, had ignored the signs, pushed down the uncomfortable truths, let myself believe that things would get better without doing the work. And now here I was, paying the price, sit back down on the bed, this time with a sense of finality. It was over. The life I thought I had, the future I thought we were building, it was gone. But maybe, just maybe, that wasn't the worst thing. Maybe this was the wake-up call I needed. Not just about Kate, but about me. About what I had let myself become. Don't know what comes next. Don't have a plan. But know one thing for certain. The next time I walk into my own life, it won't be with Kate at my side. And for the first time that night, feel a small, fragile sense of peace. The next morning, sunlight creeps through the thin motel curtains, casting a dim, almost reluctant light across the room. Feels strange waking up alone like this, with no rush to go back home, no pressure to face Kate, or pick up the shattered pieces of what we once had. It's as though the world outside has moved on, indifferent to the wreckage of my life. Lay in bed for a while, staring at the ceiling, letting the quiet sink in. The gnawing, hollow ache in my chest isn't gone, but it isn't as sharp anymore. It's more like an echo of pain. Something I can live with, something I have to live with. Pick up my phone, scroll through a few missed texts, one from Nathan checking in, a couple of work emails. Couldn't care less about, and then of course, there's another message from Kate. We can fix this. Please don't leave like this. I love you. My thumb hovers over the screen, but don't feel the usual pull to respond. The desperation in her words doesn't hit the way it might have before. They feel hollow, like she's grasping at something that isn't there anymore. The love she talks about, it had been gone long before. Either of us had the courage to admit it. Put the phone back down. There's no need to reply. Not anymore. She had made her choice, and now so had I. I wasn't going back to the life we built on lies, resentment, and half-truths. The hours pass slowly, but feel strangely at peace with the stillness. Don't rush to pack up my things or figure out what I'll do next. Instead, let myself sit with the reality of it all, the end of my marriage, the end of Kate's hold on me, and with each passing minute, feel lighter, as if a weight I hadn't even known I was carrying had been lifted. It wasn't until late afternoon that I finally decide to check out of the motel, leave the key on the nightstand, grab my bag, and walk out into the cool autumn air. Sun hanging low in the sky, casting long shadows on the pavement. Stand by my car for a moment, taking it all in. The freedom feels strange, almost foreign. After years of trying to hold things together, trying to make a marriage work, that had been broken for far too long. Finally free of it, but freedom comes with uncertainty. Where am I supposed to go now? What does life look like without Kate? Get into the car, turn the key, drive without any real direction. The roads feel different. The air fresher, like I'm seeing everything through new eyes. As I pass by the places we used to go, the coffee shop where we'd sat for hours on our first date, the park where we'd spent lazy Sunday afternoons. Don't feel the sting of nostalgia. Feel a kind of detachment, like I'm driving through someone else's memories. After a while, find myself back at Nathan's place. He opens the door, his expression already knowing. He doesn't need to ask how things had gone. I'd been here enough times now that he could read it all in my face. Coffee? He asks. Already heading to the kitchen. Yeah, I mutter. Stepping inside, dropping my bag by the door. The place is cluttered, but in a comfortable way. Nathan's apartment had always felt lived in, like it didn't matter if things were perfect or organized. That was something I appreciated more than ever now. He hands me a mug, sitting down across from me at the kitchen table. The silence between us is comfortable. We don't need to fill it with useless words. He knows I'm not ready to rehash every detail, and I appreciate that. For the first time in a long time, feel like I don't need to explain myself. After a few sips, Nathan leans back in his chair, giving me a look. So what's the plan now? Shrug. I don't know, man. I don't think there's a plan. Not yet. He nods slowly, taking a sip of his coffee. You staying here for a while? If that's cool with you, I say. I just need to figure things out. I don't know if I can stay in that house. Not with everything that's happened. Of course you can stay, Nathan says. Without hesitation. As long as you need. Nod. Grateful. Not sure what comes next. But no, I can't go back to that house. To the memories, the arguments, and the ghost of the life Kate and I had tried to create. It isn't home anymore. Maybe it never really had been. Later that evening, as we sit in front of the TV, half watching some show, my phone buzzes again. Glance at it, already knowing what I'd see. Michael, I'm sorry. I don't want this to be the end. Please call me. Stare at the screen for a long moment, feeling nothing. There's no anger, no sadness, just acceptance. Had already made my decision, and no amount of texts or apologies from Kate could change that. She had played her hand, and now she was dealing with the consequences. I wasn't her safety net anymore, wasn't the guy she could string along, until she figured out what she really wanted. Delete the message, toss the phone aside, turn back to the TV. This is the part where in some stories, people say they find peace, that they've moved on, or grown from the experience. But that wasn't where I was. Not yet anyway. The truth was, I didn't know what moving on even looked like. I just knew that staying in the past wasn't an option. There would be more sleepless nights ahead, more mornings where the absence of Kate would feel strange, where I'd reach for my phone out of habit, expecting to see her name. But I also knew that those moments would pass. Eventually, the pain would fade. The anger would burn out, and I'd stop seeing her shadow in every corner of my life. And when that day came, I'd be ready to start again. For now, though, I sat in the stillness, not rushing toward the future, not dragging myself back into the past. I was right here in the present, in the calm after the storm. And for the first time in a long time, that felt like enough.